All right, we're about a minute away and we'll go live here very shortly as soon as we have some additional participants join us. So sit tight for another minute and we'll be ready to go. All right, it's 10 o'clock. Welcome everyone to the second of the Nolte six-pack summer seminar. My name is Chad Bonner. I'm a commercial advisor here at Nolte Insurance. And soon I'll be joined by two of the brightest minds in insurance, and that is Tom Jager and Susan Colhane. Tom is our commercial lines leader, and Susan Colhane is our employee benefits department leader. So we're going to talk about a number of different topics today, but first I want to do a couple of housekeeping items. The question and answer button at the top of your screen is the way that we want you to submit your questions. That logs it for us. We can see them as we have the seminar, and we'll try to get to those. Those that we don't get to, we'll be able to answer after the seminar is over. The other thing I wanted to mention is at the end of this seminar, there's going to be a giveaway. We're going to have a cooler, a six-pack of your choice, and Tom will be drawing that number at the end of the seminar. So with that said, let's get into the details of no-fault auto reform. And we're going to cover a lot of different topics today. To really understand no-fault auto reform, we need to understand what the laws are now. And we've put together a list of questions and things that are changing in this law that we think will be very informational for our customers and prospects. But the first thing Tom's really going to cover are a lot of acronyms, things like PIP or PIP or PPI, MCCA, a lot of these different terms that maybe our prospects and customers don't know. And Tom is going to help everyone understand how the current law functions, and then we'll get into the changes in the law. So now we'll bring Tom Jager in. And I want to see, Tom, will you give us a kind of a history of no-fault insurance?
Yes, thanks, Chad. Thanks especially for the kind introduction. I think the acronyms are going to make people wish they were actually on a COVID seminar again, but let's try and do our best to make this fun for everybody. Yeah, the no-fault came into play in Michigan in 1973. Before that, the courts were getting overwhelmed by lawsuits. So there was nearly 70,000 lawsuits a year. People were just constantly fighting about who was at fault. Was it you at fault, that you owe me benefits, or I was at fault, I owe you benefits? Which way is it? As a result, a third of the money we spent on insurance went just to legal bills, a crazy amount. So people weren't getting the benefits, but the insurance was still very costly.
So how is that different than other states, Tom?
It isn't necessarily different than what other states are doing right now, as a matter of fact. The difference is when we put into place no fault, we made sure the benefits were now getting to the injured parties without regard to fault. So yeah, onto this slide.
Yeah, that brings us to our next question in the original no fault reform and how it helped the people in Michigan.
Yeah, so basically first thing it did was it greatly reduced litigation. We don't have to establish fault to collect benefits. Think of another coverage that's similar to that, workers' compensation. I don't have to prove my employer was at fault. All I have to do is show that I was injured at work and I can collect the benefits. So it takes away all that time, money, and effort spent on proving who was at fault. You collect from your own company without regard to fault, and as a result, they were able to build in really generous benefits because the money wasn't being spent on legal, it was being spent on benefits for the actual people that were injured.
So the benefits are so good, why reform the law?
Yeah, good question. The benefits are really good. They're the best anywhere. I don't think of Michigan no fault as the Cadillac of insurance. I think of it as the Rolls Royce of insurance. It is beyond, not even close, anywhere else. No one has anything like the Michigan no fault law. But as a result of it, the costs have continued to escalate because the benefits, we just never anticipated how costly unlimited lifetime medical benefits would be. There are claims open still from the 70s that are still being paid on because those injured people are still getting treatments. You know, you can have a catastrophic auto accident and it lasts for a long time. In addition, there were no caps at all on the fees that could be charged on Michigan no fault benefits. So if you think of, if I get injured playing softball, my health insurance has a fee schedule with the provider. If I get injured at work, my work comp has a fee schedule with the provider. Auto didn't have any sort of fee schedule, so their fees were always really high.
All right, let's get into some of these acronyms that I alluded to. Can you tell us about some of these acronyms and what coverages are required in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, so there's the big three. You can see them on the screen right there. The personal injury protection, PIP, the property protection insurance, PPI, and then the residual liability. Every policy in the state of Michigan has to have those coverages as part of it.
So my grandma used to call me a PIP. Tell me more about what that coverage means.
I'm sure Grandma did call you that because you're a very attractive young man, I'm sure. PIP coverage, the personal injury protection, provides, this is really the key to the no fault. It provides unlimited lifetime medical benefits for auto-related accident. A friend of mine in Detroit just was in an auto accident, a serious one, about a month and a half ago. He spent 3 weeks in the hospital. He's in a wheelchair now as a result of the accident. The insurance has already paid to put a ramp in and do some remodeling at his house. They're paying for attendants to come into his house to help him with rehab, physical therapy, and so on. All of that's being taken care of. Meanwhile, he gets lost wages. As you can see on the screen there, up to 3 years of lost wages are paid. Again, without regard to fault. He can be at fault. He doesn't have to be at fault. It doesn't matter. We don't have to argue about it. We get to the benefits right away. A little bit of replacement services up to $20 a day. You can see there for some attendant care or some special services that need to be done. And survivor benefits. If someone dies in an accident, the survivors get the 3 years of lost wages and up to $20 a day.
So Grandma never called me a PPI, but I'm interested to know, what is that acronym?
I really like these questions, Chad. Thank you for setting these up. PPI is property protection insurance. That's property damage coverage in the state of Michigan. Every policy comes with $1 million coverage in this area. It's automatic. It's part of the policy. There's no options there. It's just part of it. Interesting thing to note, though, remember, it's no fault. Okay? No fault. That's the key to always remember on this thing. So let's say I'm sitting at a stoplight. Chad comes barreling up behind me. I shouldn't make you a bad guy, Chad. But anyway, you hit me and then you run into a building. So you scrape off my bumper. You really don't do any damage to me. You run into a building, you cause $250,000 worth of damage. All right? The building gets repaired. The bill goes to both of our insurance companies. It's no fault. So even though I was just sitting there minding my own business, I pay half because we don't decide who's at fault. We just split the cost.
All right. So how about residual liability? It doesn't sound like a real thing, but tell me about it.
Residual liability, you probably more commonly hear it called bodily injury. This is liability for money you owe to someone else that might be over and above other benefits that they can collect. So it'd be damages in excess of the PIP benefits. So maybe the lost wage is greater than $5,700 a month. You might owe them something there. It's also for their pain and suffering. And it also is your property damage coverage for out of the state of Michigan. Remember, in-state is that PPI, out of state is the residual liability coverage.
All right. The people signed up for some information on the new law, probably not necessarily the history that we provided to them. So let's get into what that looks like. So it looks like 3 things are changing. What are they, Tom?
Yeah, we wanted to give a little background. We thought it made more sense if we did that to kind of set us up here. So here's the 3 big changes that are going to happen. There's going to be PIP options. There's going to be changes to the liability limits that you are required to buy, and there's a change to a coverage called mini tort.
All right, give me PIP for 500.
All right, PIP for 500 it is. Remember, what was it? Always unlimited lifetime medical, no options. Now, as a business, you're going to have 3 options. You can continue at the unlimited lifetime medical on all your vehicles. You can go down to 500,000 in medical that is built in there. Yeah, note on the left side, the MCCA, that's a big change here. We talked about that one, Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association. Right now, every vehicle in Michigan is paying $220 a year for the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association fee. Starting July 2, that fee goes down to $100 for those that are taking unlimited, okay? At 500,000, you don't have the MCCA fee, and you get a slight discount on your PIP premium. At 250,000, you don't have that MCCA fee, and you get a little bit bigger discount on that. Those are the 3 options that you can take as a commercial auto buyer. Remember, this is a commercial auto seminar, not personal. Just to touch real quick on personal, there are a couple other options with personal, all the way down to 0 if you hit the right, you check the right boxes.
All right, let's say in that same category for 1,000.
Okay, if you choose either the 250 or the 500,000 limit, your carrier is going to offer you an additional $10,000 of attendant care. So you can see on the left side of the screen a couple of examples of what attendant care might look like. Couple other things to note on this. When the law was written, it was specifically made part of the law that personal lines insurance carriers have to give a discount in rates when this happens. Rates have to go down by law in the PIP category. There is no such law for the commercial. So the insurance carriers in the commercial side can still do whatever they want with the rates. It's a competitive environment, so they can truly do whatever they want, but they don't have to follow the law of automatic decrease. Other thing to keep in mind always when you're talking about commercial auto is if you're driving a commercial auto, an employee, owner, whatever, their PIP benefits come from that auto when you're in that vehicle. So if I'm driving a company vehicle and I get in an accident, even if it's off from work, not work time, I get PIP benefits coming from that vehicle.
All right, we've already established residual liability is a real thing. Can you give us a summary of the changes of that coverage?
Yes, currently the minimum coverage amount that you have to buy is $20,000 per person, $40,000 per accident, $10,000 property damage. So the 20-40-10, that's what you hear insurance companies talk about or insurance people talk about. At renewal, the minimum amount that you can buy is $250,000, $500,000, and $10,000. Or that's the minimum that it will get applied to you. You can, under the right circumstances, buy lower than that, but mostly you're going to automatically get the 250, 500,000. The other option is a 510 combined single limit for liability and property damage. Keep it in mind, our commercial clients almost all have higher limits than that already, so that one really doesn't come into play in a big way for us.
All right, so I want to know about mini torts. I've had chocolate crepes and strawberry blintzes, but not mini torts. Can you tell me a little bit about the mini tort change?
The mini tort is a delicious dish served only here in Michigan, as a matter of fact. Mini tort is a totally Michigan-specific coverage. So they carved this out and brought a little bit of tort back in. Tort is wrongful act. Remember, we're no fault. This brings in a little bit of tort coverage. And the coverage is designed for, let's say that, Chad, you have a vehicle where you have no collision coverage on it, and I hit your vehicle, I'm at fault in it. You can't collect collision coverage because you don't have any. You would look to my policy for coverage on that, and you could get up to $1,000 for that. Starting July 2, 2020, that limit increases from $1,000 to $3,000.
All right, so with all those changes, it sounds like everything is perfect. You don't have any concerns, do you?
I think there's a lot of good things that are happening. And the number one thing is that it will save money almost across the board for certain on our personal insurance, and that's important. There are some potential pitfalls. One is you have a little bit bigger exposure to residual liability. So again, let's say that I cause an accident. I know it's no fault, Chad. You're going to get your PIP benefits from your own carrier. But let's say you chose $250,000 as your limit, Chad, and I caused you more injury than that. You're going to be able to sue for that additional that you didn't get paid with unlimited. I'm going to have that exposure on my liability coverage. So I'm going to have to respond with my policy to help pay for your injuries. It leaves me with a little bit of bigger exposure over there. In Michigan, when you're involved in an accident with a motorcyclist, they always collect from you, from your insurance, no matter who's at fault. So they can run into the back of you while you're sitting at a stoplight. Their PIP benefits come from your policy. Again, if your policy, if you chose $250,000, they're limited to $250,000, especially if you were at fault in that accident. That could be leave you an uncovered exposure right there, or one that's going to have to be covered by your residual liability somehow. And as an owner, do I want to select a lower limit if I'm the owner of a company, knowing that it could reduce the amount of PIP available for me and my family members or key employees and so on?
All right, so people probably signed up for this seminar to find out what the heck is this going to do to my rates. And we've been sitting here for 15 minutes talking about all the different coverages. Tell the people what they want to hear. What's it going to do to their rates? Yeah,
really good question. As I mentioned before, commercial carriers do not have to reduce the rates. As of 7/2, we do know the MCCA charge is going to go down from $220 a vehicle to $100 a vehicle. Carriers are just now starting to release rates. I actually yesterday got a renewal rate from a policy after the 7/2 date, yesterday for the first time. That one did go down. I've heard of others that are going the opposite direction, that carriers are using this time to say, well, the MCCA is going down, but we're raising our rates anyway because we're inadequately rated, or the premiums are inadequate here in Michigan for a commercial auto. I don't know what to expect. I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis. We cannot say across the board that everybody's going to save money. I think some will, but some may not.
All right, any other insights that you want to share?
Unlimited, if you're involved in a serious accident, it is the best coverage available. It will take care of you. It's just an unbelievable coverage. It really is. Best insurance value I've ever seen, in my opinion. I have not yet talked to anybody in the property casualty insurance world that is going to take anything but full unlimited PIP, even after the reform comes through. The original goal of the no-fault law was to reduce legal expenses, to get benefits into the hands of consumers. And that has worked in Michigan, and it will continue to work. And hopefully the cost containment measures they put into place will help reduce the cost and make it more affordable for people in Michigan.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that, Tom. Thank you for the history and the information on the updates. Now let's go over to Susan, who's going to fill us in on the interaction between Michigan auto coverage and the no-fault changes in the employee benefits world.
Good morning, everybody. We have been getting so many questions from our HR and benefit specialists on what do they do? How do they help their employees? Is it something that they even need to worry about because they offer health insurance? So yes and no, it really depends. So we're going to talk about fully insured plans, what the considerations are there, self-insured plans, PIP versus group health coverage, what's the difference there? And what do you do next? What do you tell your employees to do? So you want to bring it to the next slide, Jan? Thank you. Okay, so here's the good news. And most of you are what we consider fully insured plans. That's where you pay a certain premium for a single two-person family coverage per month to your insurance carrier. It could be to Blue Cross, it could be BCN, Priority Health, United Healthcare, any carrier that you have. So if you're paying a steady same premium for single, two-person, and family, you are considered fully insured in the state of Michigan. And the state of Michigan makes it very easy for you, because Michigan law requires that if you are fully insured, then your plan is going to pay primary for auto-related injuries. So really, there's not a lot you need to do if you're fully insured. So if an employee comes to you and says, hey, I don't know what type of plan do we have? Do we have a fully insured plan, or do we have a self-insured plan? If you have a fully insured plan, all you need to tell your employee is to call the health insurance carrier. You cannot do that for them. They have to call the 800 number on the back of their card to get a statement that says what their proof of coverage is. And then they're going to bring that proof of coverage letter into their auto agent and prove what type of coverage that they have a fully insured plan in the state of Michigan. And then it's really going to be up to the employee what they decide to do. They can purchase 0, 250, 500, or unlimited. So that's their option when it's fully insured. When you are self-insured, this is where you have some decisions to make. And self-insured could also be with Blue Cross. It could also be with Priority Health. It could be with a number of TPAs. And this is where you are actually paying the claim dollars for your plan. You're not paying that steady premium. Your plan fluctuates based on the claims that you have, and that's self-insured plan. So most of you will know if you're doing that. And you get to decide how you handle this coming forward in July. So you can continue to pay primary as long as you have a qualified health coverage, which is the deductible of $6,000 or less. And then you can continue to pay primary. Not a problem. You could pay secondary. So you can decide, yes, we will pay some part of it, but we want auto first, and then we will come in and kind of clean up after and pay secondary. You can exclude auto-related accidents altogether. You can just decide, hey, we're not going to cover it. We don't want to take those claim dollars on our plan. We have some clients that do that, but most of our clients do still keep it as primary, but that is an option for you. It's a risk way to look at it. We don't want the risk on our plan, so we're going to exclude auto. And if that's the case, then your employees on those plans have to choose at least 250 for their auto coverage. The fourth option is you can exclude the first 250 or 500 in the event of an auto accident, which this could get really messy. And that is one thing that you do want to work with your TPAs. Your TPA could be Blue Cross. It could be somebody like Insight, Secure One, but you want to ask your TPA if they will even allow you to exclude the 250 or up to 250 or up to 500. So if you make a plan change for your self-insured plans coming in July, one thing you're going to want to do is update your plan documents. So you want to make sure this is clear in your plan documents and that your employees know exactly how your health plan is going to pay. They will need a letter from you on how your plan will handle this, the auto-related injuries. So you're self-insured, you kind of are the plan, the employer is the group health plan, and so therefore the letter probably is going to come from you, and you are going to state one of those 4 options I talked about on the other slide. And then they're going to give that letter to their auto agent as well. And then again, same as fully insured, the employees can decide what they want to do. They can purchase 250, 500, or unlimited. So let's talk a little bit about PIP versus group health coverage. In a lot of cases, they cover the same things. So they're going to cover hospitalizations, surgeries, prescriptions, x-rays, medical equipment. So they kind of mirror each other, and the PIP plan will pay it or your group health insurance will pay it. And next slide, until it doesn't. So this is the big thing. In addition, PIP pays for expenses that are typically not covered by your group health insurance plan. And this is the one thing that if you are going to act as an advisor to your employees, which I know so many of your employees come to you as an HR benefit specialist and say, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Well, then maybe you can just advise them that if they choose a lower limit, then they may not get these benefits. So they can include skilled nursing beyond the usual timeframes that you have in your group health plan. If they need any type of therapies, physical, occupational, or speech therapies, then they have extra coverage beyond what maybe your plan states. A lot of plans might state you only could have 30 combined visits. Well, this takes it to almost an unlimited amount. Attendant care at home. So it allows you to have somebody come to your house. And Tom had mentioned, you know, his friend that was in this auto accident and they're already having attendants come to the house. Well, under group health insurance, that could be a little bit more difficult to get done. But with PIP, it happens. It just is almost seamless. If the home needs to be modified, let's say you need that wheelchair ramp or you need your bathroom redone because there's no way somebody in a wheelchair could actually shower on their own. They need assistance, they need it larger. Then they will come in and they will do that under PIP. They can get mileage covered back and forth to their doctor's appointments. If they need a guide dog or a service, any type of service animal, that could be covered under PIP. Acupuncture is covered under PIP. So there are certainly things that are covered under PIP that are not covered under your health insurance. So what do you do next? Again, they're going to come in and they're going to ask you. So you want to advise them to speak to their auto insurance agent. Hopefully that's at multi-insurance, but if it's not, that they want to have an open dialogue, a conversation with their auto insurance agent and on what they have for their group health plan versus what they're going to buy on their auto. The thing to remember with your employees is that if they are in an auto-related accident, and let's say they do, it's covered under the fully insured plan or the self-insured plan, they only have those benefits while they are employed with you. So they are employed with you, they get into an auto accident, they no longer can work. So what happens next? Typically COBRA, if you're a 20 employee and over, they would be offered COBRA insurance. And more than likely it would be for 18 months, continued coverage under COBRA. So if that happens, then honestly, the hospital could pay the COBRA premium. Anybody wants to have some type of coverage. So you could have the COBRA premium paid by the employee or it could be paid by the hospital. But what happens after that 18 months? They're not covered under your plan anymore. And if they didn't choose unlimited, they only chose 250K or 500K, then they're going to have that benefit. Then after that, it's nothing. So that's what you need to, if anything, I'd advise them to make sure that they're making very good decisions with how the plan pays now and then what happens when they either buy a limit of 250 or 500. So you just want to really advise them of what the risks are. And because of that, we are saying more than likely we're going to tell everybody to just buy unlimited. I will tell you for my family, I'm going to keep mine at unlimited. I don't think the savings are really going to be there. And to me, the risk is too much. So that's what we're doing. Now, self-insured plans, again, you will advise them to speak to their auto insurance agent. Same thing. You need to tell them, though, whether you pay primary, whether you are paying secondary, whether you're going to exclude it from the plan, or you're going to pay after the first 250 or 500 is met, which again, that's a little one that you want to watch and work with your TPA for. And also under your plan as well, more than likely, they only are going to have coverage while they're employed with you or while they're on COBRA. So those are some things that you're going to want to make sure that they understand those risks. And just like before, explain to them what those are. And again, we're going to say recommend unlimited for anybody just to make sure that their family's covered, excuse me.
Thank you, Susan, for adding that important piece of the puzzle in on the employee benefits. And we have a couple more minutes and a few questions that have come in on the Q&A. So Tom, I'm going to direct these to you. The first question has to do with the slides. We will be sending all of the slides and a recording of this webinar out so everyone can watch and review it as needed. The next question has to do with personal auto. Tom, I know you're not in the personal auto space, but are the personal auto, do you still get these same choices as you get for the commercial auto?
Yeah, you get the same choices, plus you get a couple of extra ones. On the PIP, you can get a choice to go lower than the 250. I'm trying to think you can get, is it 50, Susan? You might know that.
Yeah.
And there's another one that's 0. If you're Medicare, Medicaid, if you have those coverages in place and can prove it, you can actually go down to 0 PIP coverage under those circumstances.
And Tom, another question having to do with an umbrella liability policy. Would a general umbrella liability policy be better than PIP coverage? Can you answer that?
They're two different things. The PIP coverage is that medical related. So injuries to my, injuries to myself and all that attendant care and all the other stuff that we've talked about. The liability is what I owe somebody else for injuries I caused to them. So if I injure you, Chad, I owe you liability coverage. My auto policy probably has a limit on it. So let's say it's $1 million. And you get a judgment against me, Chad, for $1.5 million. That first $1 million will come out of my auto policy. If I don't have anything above that, then I have an unfunded judgment of $500,000 that I still owe you. If I have an umbrella coverage over top of that general liability, that umbrella will kick in and pay that other $500,000.
Perfect. The other questions, I believe, were answered in the seminar, so we'll skip those and answer those individually via email. The final thing we want to do is pull a number for the cooler in the 6-pack that we discussed. And we have all of our attendees listed out. And Tom, if you would give us a number between 1 and 135, please.
Okay, I don't have the list in front of me, so I'll just pick the number, lucky number 17.
Okay, I'm gonna look at the list. All right. Lucky number 17 is Christy Laplander from FEMA. So Christy, we will get with you and find out what your 6-pack of choice is, and we'll make sure we get it delivered to you.
Well, thank you guys, everyone, for attending. And our next seminar topic will be 2 weeks away. Susan, what's that seminar topic coming up?
That is going to be leadership in the time of crisis with Bob Vanderpool from Pine Rest. Will be doing that for us, and we'll again ask people to submit questions ahead of time if they have any concerns or how to deal with both of the crises that are going on in our world right now. So he's going to be doing that one for us. And then after that, in July, we're going to have Gary Kushner speak on the state of benefits. So he will be giving us a rundown. And then let's see, after that, we're going to have a gentleman from Greenleaf Trust talk about financial wellness in this time of the financial stress on our employers and our employees. So.
Well, great. Hopefully everyone can join us for those. Until then, we hope everyone stays healthy and safe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.